My name is David Kirkcaldy. I'm a bell ringer from down in Sussex, and I'm also at the moment the Deputy President of the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers. The role of the Deputy President, perhaps one of the most important ones, is to support the President in the work they do, and also be an integral part of the executive, which decides on the work that the Central Council is doing and oversees the work groups. One of my roles as Deputy President is to step into the President is away, absent at meetings. I'm there to take over from him. I also executive sponsor for one of the individual work groups, and more recently overseen the arrangements for the annual meeting weekend each year when we meet in person. It's important I'd like to think it's important for the president to have someone to sound ideas off, someone they can trust to speak to in confidence about any matters of concern. As somebody once said, a problem shared is a problem halved, and I think it is good. We can't all have the answers to everything, and it's bringing a different perspective to somebody's ideas, however good or bad they are. I thought long and hard before putting myself forward for the role of, as it was then, Vice President of the Central Council. I feel fortunate that when I joined the Central Council, which in real terms isn't that long ago, there was already a move to modernise it, to do things different, and to make the Central Council more relevant to ringing in general. And as I say, I thought long and hard about it. I asked my other half whether she thought it would be a good idea, because I think it's, and this is one of the things one needs to consider when one comes to a role like this, is have you got the time to give to it? And I felt I had. I could see that there was a need to modernise and change the way the Central Council was operating, and I felt that I could be part of that and contribute to making the Central Council more relevant for the 21st century than perhaps the Victorian era, which it perhaps was rather still stuck in. So yes, I'd always also got the thing putting something back into ringing. I've been ringing for a fair number of years. I've got time on my hands at the moment, so I thought that it would be worthwhile to bring that experience and my understanding of trying to move things forward to the role of Deputy President, which is turned into. But to carry out this role, I think the first thing is you need the support of those closest around you. It can be time consuming at various parts of the year, especially in the build up to the annual meeting weekend. You've also got to be able to be part of quite a small team that works well together. And I think also you need to bear in mind that you're probably going to have the executive of the Central Council is 8 strong. There's the public relations officer, who is also an integral part of the top setup. But a lot of the work that the Deputy President, in conjunction with the President, does is based with the Secretary of the Central Council, the PRO, and the Treasurer. So you've really got to be able to work well as a small team, get on with each other, understand each other. I must say we don't always probably agree with each other, but you've also got to have the realization of, if you want a better word, corporate responsibility. and go with the flow. It's not a role or any part of the executive where one is going to actually put forward a minority report at the end of the day. We've all got to be of one mind. One other thing, you don't have to be the best ringer in the world. You don't have to be the ringer of the longest standing. But I think one thing that is useful to have is an understanding, and it's a bit of a perhaps an airy-fairy suggestion, but you need to know how ringing works, for want of a better description. So yes, it's how ringing works, and I brought skills from my work and also from having been running my local association, of which I was master for 3 years. So those skills come along, and it all builds into the experience one brings to the job. I wouldn't say I get anything personally out of being deputy president. I think what I'd like to think is that I'm part of a team that is making a difference, helping ringing to flourish. We've kicked off Ringing 2030 to try and make sure that ringing has a good future. One of the people on the Central Council once said to me, well, it doesn't really matter what people think about the Central Council, because the vast majority of ringers probably never heard of the Central Council, and they only contact them if they've got a problem. I don't think that is really a good enough reason for the Central Council being in existence. I think there's a lot more we can do to help ringers who find that in their area they're not getting perhaps the support that they need. One of the other initiatives we started recently is expanding the number of residential ringing courses there are. The ones that have been in existence for a number of years have been oversubscribed for a number of years. We needed more. So the Central Council actually set about pump priming an extra one, and we're looking at a further one. And it's those sort of things that I think are best describe what I enjoyed in the Central Council. It's helping people make a difference. I've had many years of socialising, good friendships, enjoying my ringing, and I'd like every ringer to be able to have that experience. Why should somebody put their name forward to this role? Because we need people, and we need volunteers. We need people. It sounds a strange word to use, but it's one I use in Sussex a lot. We need doers. There aren't enough doers. Everybody, and it's not just bell ringing. Everybody's willing to stand on the sidelines and complain or say this isn't good, that isn't good. But we need people actually to step up and do these roles, get involved, however much however great a role they take. So it's very worthwhile. You meet people, you'll meet new friends, you'll be meeting new ringing friends. Opportunities may well open up for you. But at the bottom of the day, I'd hope that somebody that became deputy president comes into the role to try and take forward the good work that has been developed over the last few years. There's still a lot more to be done. As I said, ringing courses are in great demand. There's more scope for those. There's more scope for just generally getting ringing a much higher profile, bringing new recruits in who are going to continue ringing well past 2030, which is the date we're looking at the moment. When I step down from this role, I'm sure there'll be other pressures and things on my time to do. One of the things that I've most enjoyed, actually, other than outside the Central Council, of course, is working in my own tower and my own locality, um, with training of new recruits, and that's not just with their bell handling, but trying to progress people, trying to bring people through, um, so that they get the most they want to. Not everybody wants to go on a ring. Not everybody even wants to go on a ring appeal. Not everybody wants to go on and be central council representative, or the president of the central council. Everybody has a level of where they aspire to get to. And it's supporting the ringers of my own tower and locality in their aspirations for their ringing. I think one of it is having more time, perhaps, to look at doing something different. I think that's why it's quite a good idea that the role of deputy president, president, and the executive is time limited. It means people don't become stale. Means there's opportunity for people to come through and take on those roles. And one point with me, when I became vice president, in those days it was thought that it was a natural progression from vice president to president. In recent times, that's changed with the reforms that have been brought in. And so I'll probably be the first vice president, deputy president that didn't become president. And I think that shows also the new way that the Central Council is keen to work and develop. I'd like to say to anybody that's watching this, is that I assume, I'd like to think, that you're watching it because you have an interest, not just in the Central Council, but also perhaps in the role of Deputy President. Bear in mind that now might not be the time or the right time for you to put your name forward to become in an election for Deputy President. There are a lot of other roles, and I've mentioned it before about volunteers, that you could carry on and do. The work of the Central Council now is open to any ringer to get involved in, and therefore you can do as much or as little as your time allows at the moment. So please do consider becoming a member of a work group if you feel that the role of Deputy President for you isn't the one at the moment you want to follow through for. And also, we're looking for I don't like the term because it sounds a little sort of derogatory in a way, ordinary executive member. So there's a member of there'll be a vacancy on the executive for an executive member. So if you feel that the deputy president role for you isn't the one at the moment, put your name forward or consider putting your name forward for one of the other roles that it will be up for election in September this year. And I hope to see, especially those members around the Ipswich area, Norfolk, Suffolk, the Greater East Anglia, Ipswich in September, when we can have a chat.